Have you ever felt like life becomes so busy that your health was the first thing to disappear? The gym stopped, meal prep disappeared, your routines slowly faded away. And before long, you felt like you'd lost yourself or not quite yourself anymore. Most people believe consistency means doing everything. But what if consistency isn't about doing more all of the time? What if it was about always knowing what to come back to? So, welcome back to the Thrive Method podcast. And today we're exploring the fourth principle of Thrive, building from your baseline. So, I wanted to go into this, telling you about a particular client of mine and how they were going through a huge life shift. They were basically transitioning from working for a global company to working for themselves. It was a huge shift for them. It was pretty insane. Their life pretty much turned upside down, and they were struggling to manage all the moving parts of the transition, understandably, not to mention the increased travel, family time, and financial uncertainties. Trying to hit calories and macros still, train 3 or 4 times per week in the gym, hit 10,000 steps, and still spend quality time with the kids just wasn't achievable. That was very, very apparent, and would then eventually drive them to overwhelm, additional more stress, and eventually not doing anything at all, completely derailing them. Coming from a place where I got to keep doing this if I want to achieve my health goals because they mean something, really mean something to me. I got to keep doing all this stuff whilst managing all this other stuff now. So instead of trying to maintain 100%, what we did was we changed the goal. We got clear on a baseline. And for this particular client, this is what it looked like for them. It was a nutritious meal that gave them the energy and focus that they needed to perform. A walk. Even if it was 10 minutes, 5 minutes, it didn't matter. It was a disconnected walk from phone, emails, and everything, and they just moved. All right. And there was no stipulation on it had to be half an hour or anything like that. It was just like 10 minutes. That's it. Okay. 5 minutes of stillness. And this could be like a minute of breath work or meditation, where again, they just disconnected and find some stillness. They could do it at the desk. It didn't matter. Water remain a daily anchor. Okay, this was easy because it didn't take up any additional time or energy. All right, but we highlighted it as a part of their baseline. And protein was considered when making meal choices to ensure they stayed full and satisfied. And there was no pressure. Okay. And that started to create their baseline. And when we started to do this, we knew that they were going to go through other moments as we all do like this. So this was really, really powerful for them to understand. So it was forming foundations, the anchors that would still give them the structure but weren't overwhelming or restrictive. Okay, there were enough. They were still aligned actions. And then when life settled, momentum returned naturally, not because they had to start again, because they never really stopped. The lesson here is the people who stay consistent aren't the people who never struggle. They're the people who know what to return to. So the principle is build from your baseline. So, what is your baseline? It certainly isn't your best week. And this is the fault what many people see. Well, like they set out with all good intentions and they put all this stuff in to a pretty good week. Okay. When you're feeling like everything is flowing and things are just happening for you. And let's be honest, those weeks are few and far between. So you're setting yourself up for failure straight away. What is what we have to do is set a minimum standard for your self care. Okay. something that's possible, even on those difficult days when stress is high and it feels like everyone wants a part of you. For example, and you would obviously change these to suit your preference. But what I would do is I would work through three main areas. The first one, the mind. Okay. Now, this could be 5 minutes of stillness, it could be one journal entry, one deep breath before reacting. Then picking something for the body. So this could be a 10-minute walk, mobility flow, some stretches, and then nourishment. So one nourishing meal in your day, something that anchors you in with nourishment. Protein with your breakfast, water bottle. Your baseline isn't where you settle, it's where you begin again, or you refer back to in those challenging moments that inevitably rise. They're going to happen. Okay. And this is where people get health and well-being journeys so wrong. They think starting some plan will see them through the entirety of that journey. We all know life won't let that happen. It just won't. We need the awareness to know when to come back to a baseline so that we are still able to show up and still make progress. And if you think of principle one, it's all about awareness. So this is the deepening and the thickening of that awareness, okay? And implementing this idea of creating that baseline. Just for example, a little bit of a metaphor here, so go with it. So a good sailor knows when to head for shore and drop anchor in a storm and not to keep pushing on, knowing that the storm will pass, allowing them to make the journey they intended. Now, that's not giving up, that's making the adjustments needed. And that's what we're trying to do here. So, the science behind this, the brain, the human brain loves success. As humans, we love to experience success. So, when we hit an obstacle, we expect to keep just showing up as we have been. This builds a negative loop in the brain. Okay. So over time, we know that when stress goes up or something like that, things fall away. We revert back to poor habits, routines. So in these moments, we need to adjust so that the brain and our bodies can start to learn that we adjust to these challenging moments. Every completed habit creates evidence. Evidence builds confidence. Confidence builds identity. Identity creates consistency. And it's also worth pointing out that what we need to do when making these adjustments is bring in habits or actions that are non friction. So they are easy to perform. They can be done in difficult moments. They don't need massive amounts of time and energy. The easier the habit, the more likely we are to repeat them, which our brains love as well. So small actions repeated consistently reshape the brain far more effectively than the occasional heroic efforts. So the philosophy here, and I think I wanted to share an idea by James Clear, Atomic Habits. Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. And, I talk a lot about identity with clients and people I work with and developing the identity of the person that you are becoming. Now that takes time and we have to realize that. And for us to put the reps in, we must be able to adjust so that we are staying aligned to that identity in some way. All right. So again, it's so powerful because we're now coming away from the all or nothing mindset and we're adjusting. We're working on the awareness and we're feeling what's happening here and we're able to adjust. It's really, really powerful. So you don't become healthy because of one amazing week. You become healthy because you keep voting for that identity, even on difficult days. And a baseline is going to help you to do that. Now, this is very stoic thing as we don't control the season. We control how we meet it and then how we react to it. Remember, we do not control the situation, but how we respond to it. Okay? We do not control the situation, but how we respond to it. So, I want you to reflect on something. Ask this very powerful question. When life becomes difficult, what do you stop doing first? Take some time over that. Write it down. What when life becomes difficult, what do you stop doing first? Then, once you've got that, without judgment, all right, without perfection connected to this, just curiosity, what could become your baseline instead of this? What does that look like? Remember, no friction, as least friction as possible. So it's not complex. It doesn't take up lots of time. It doesn't take up lots of energy. Okay. What could become your baseline instead of this? Okay. So the Thrive practice today is just to take 10 minutes. Write down your own Thrive baseline. Not, and remember this, is not on your ideal week, your difficult week. Ask yourself, mind, what one thing I can always do? Body, what's one movement I can always do? Nourishment, what one meal or habit I can always protect? That's your baseline. Return to it again and again. See this as an opportunity to experiment and explore these challenging moments that you face with lots going on in your life. Start to harness that baseline. This is where you come back to. Okay. Um, and I wanted to leave you with this quote: well being is realized by small steps, but it's truly no small thing. And that's by Zeno, founder of Stoicism. And then this, I feel, perfectly captures the essence of a baseline. So remember, life will never be perfectly predictable. There will always be busy seasons, stressful weeks, holidays, illness, change. The goal isn't to hold on to perfection, it's to always know where home is. Your baseline is that home. Return to it often. Until next time, keep moving, keep nourishing, keep finding stillness, and above all, keep thriving.